Hello everyone, this is an update regarding the base that I'm building in Factorio. This is a mega base and I've gone through a couple of design changes. I originally had planned on producing one of everything in the vanilla game and placing them on belts and push them towards the center of a large square layout where I could have a train circuit come along and pull off items to supply to external bases that were run by my friends or possibly expansion sites that I've created myself. But I'm not sure I'm going to use belts. I think I'm just going to put everything on a logistics network and make requests to the to a set of chests on the inside. I still have to decide how I'm going to handle that, but I will go ahead and go over what I've got going on here. I've created a bunch of modules that fit into this footprint right here. And I did that because that shape will tessellate very easily, as you can see over in my smelting area where I'm producing the iron plate as well as the steel plate. When you put them in this layout, you can also intermittently stagger your roboports onto a giant triangular grid, as you can see here. There's autosave. That pattern is a little bit broken towards the top. As you can see around this one, it's in the wrong spot because I've changed the size of the triangle a couple of times, and where I've built production centers around the roboports, they are in the correct location, so I don't have to do any additional moving. But I'll go over the basic layout and how each of these modules work real quick. For the most part, where you've got one or more items that are required for the assembly machines, I have requester chests that are requesting the desired materials, and then I have a passive provider chest where the final product goes. The ones in the corner here are shared between the assembly units on the sides, or on the corners rather. The manufacturing is controlled by circuit conditions. In this case, I have a constant combinator for the regular belts here. It's putting out a signal of 2000, and you can see with this decider combinator, it's checking to see if the value in all of these passive provider chests amongst all of the of that particular type, in this case the regular belts, all of those modules are linked together to produce a signal. And as you can see over on the right, you can see that there's 2.1 thousand of the regular belts, and because the signal is only 2,000, it has stopped production. And it stops that by way of stopping the inserters here from pushing the ingredients into the assembly machine. I decided to limit it that way because these assembly machines can store up to 100 items in each of their inventories, and I didn't want a bunch of stuff just sitting around inside the assembly machines, so I decided to limit the intake, not the output. So that layout works for all of the items requiring just regular material ingredients, but when it comes to liquids such as the express belt and express splitter, you can see an extra row along the outside here for the pipes, and I really did not like having to do this, but I really couldn't find another way of solving that problem, so the modules ended up being bigger and kind of broke the pattern. And then after that bugged me for a while, I decided I just couldn't stand looking at it. My OCD kicked in, so I ended up going with this type of design. I'm showing you the blue circuit production because it's got the same problem where we need a liquid, and I'm going to eventually change the express belt items to use this layout. It's not very efficient. I have 4 assembly machines dealing with the liquid and 4 dealing with the end product, so it's not a very compact layout. There's way too much acid for the production here, but it does keep the module in the footprint that I wanted. So I'll eventually move everything requiring liquids over to that, as long as it's a single liquid requirement. If it's something a little bit more complex, the layout has to change a little bit, obviously, which you can kind of see over here in my refinery area, where I'm dealing with two liquids in the case of sulfur or sulfuric acid. In the case of sulfur, I have a ingredient requirement of petroleum gas, which is fed into the center, pushed out to the chemical plants, which are producing your sulfur. But those chemical plants also have a water requirement, so there's two liquids being dealt with within this module. And I designed it in such a way that they obviously wouldn't interfere with one another when they're tessellated. And the water's on the outside, and the petroleum is on the inside. So there's a module here, and there's a module here producing the sulfur. And again, these are on circuit conditions as well. You can see the combinator over here. Sulfuric acid, it's a little bit different. The ingredient is on the outside, in this case water. And since it's on the outside, it doesn't interfere with the sulfur. They all interlink and provide water to one another. But in this case, the end product is sulfuric acid, and it's pushed to the middle, where it's pushed into this assembly machine, which places it into a barrel and sends it off into the logistics network. So I decided to use barrels and not deal with a bunch of pipes running through my factory. Here's my water and my crude oil collection from the trains. So just to show you how this base operates, you can see it's pretty quiet right now. There's not much going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a logistics request here for just say an extra 200 of the processing units here, and it should immediately wake these up and start producing blue. Green circuits will wake up also, because there is a 7-to-1 ratio between thank you, autosave. I'm sorry, a 10-to-1 ratio between the red and the green. So the green woke up pretty quick. It's sitting down here producing, as well as the copper cable. It's also a requirement. So you can see those all have green dots indicating that they're producing. The red is also just kind of sitting here. There it goes. It's awake now. So it supplies until it falls below that threshold, and then it wakes up to fill its back stock. So I've already got my extra 200. So these are just going to run until they resupply their passive provider chest. Likewise for these units down here. And you can see there's a flurry of activity now here, going all the way back to the refineries, or to the smelting. I'm sorry. So the base is pretty quiet when it's not in use. I think I'm going to additionally add a circuit condition to these to remove their power when they're not in use, because as you can see over here on the right, when I hover over one of these assembly machines, it shows you that it has a drain of 7 kilowatts. What that means is even when it's not being used, if it's just sitting here doing nothing, it's burning 7 kilowatts per assembly machine. It's not really a lot in the grand scheme of things, but you know, the entire server's running off of one interconnected power grid, and we're pulling about 200 megawatts of power. And you can see here it's got a repeating but somewhat chaotic pattern to it, because we are running a majority of this off of solar. There's a 1 gigawatt solar array here, which is feeding the entire base. There's, I think, 1 nuclear reactor here in the center, but that's pretty much it for this base. I hope that in the next few days I get more items onto the production schedule here and have something a little bit more to show for that. I will probably focus on doing the the speed modules, efficiency modules, the production modules, and probably also try to nail out, or yeah, probably try to deal with all of the production items, because I'm tired of having to craft the assembly machines by hand, as well as some of these other items. So I'll probably get everything that's in the production tab produced, and then start working on the inserters and stuff on the crafting tab. So I'll probably have those done in the coming week. So thanks for watching. Hope this gives some folks some ideas. I always like to see people come up with new ways of solving problems in this game, and I'm pretty sure that I will move things around a bit and put this base through a couple of revisions before I'm satisfied with it. So thanks for watching, and keep tuned in for the next update.